Do what thou will be the whole piece of law.
Now listen here. I have some theories of where we might be, but I don't want to say too much to begin with. While exploring these archives, it's important to remember we are stirring around the belly of the beast. In search of more literature, in search of the truth, we are at a significant risk, especially because this artificial intelligence is threatening to wipe out the humanity, so to speak, from humanity. I just wish I could find what I was looking for. Something that could explain what's going on, explain the madness, be a primer on this subject. Maybe that would draw us deeper, show you what it means, because I don't think you understand the gravity of the Frankenstein controls. I don't think you understand the gravity of what has been implanted into you and how much you believe that how much you age, quote unquote, is just an artificial construction. How much of it is just computer god tampering in your natural processes. This place looks familiar. I feel like there's something around here. Oh! I found it. This is the original. It's the Master Race Frankenstein radio controls. Look, it's the only art he ever did. Ah, wait, hold on. The computer gods encoded this one. I'm sure I can decrypt it just like last time. I understand this is an unscheduled stop, but I think it's valuable. I know this is the only thing here, but we'll continue the journey after that. The schizophrenic is talking. Sit and listen. Make copies for yourself. There is no escape from this worst gangster police state, using all of the deadly gangster Frankenstein controls. In 1965, the CIA gangster police beat me bloodily, dragged me in chains from Kennedy, New York airport, and since then, I hide in forced, jobless poverty, isolated alone in this low, deadly old house. Well, it seems we're going to get a lot of insight into what happened during his containment. If you remember part of his biography, he had a schizophrenic meltdown and then locked himself in his house for about 20 years. This provides some light as to why. It seems he had a little bit of Antoine Artaud's "people are randomly attacking me" syndrome. If you also remember, this isn't necessarily completely false. He was removed from this airport historically, and I suppose that was the triggering incident for this episode, because he will go on to explain his rationale as to why. But let's continue. The brazen, deadly gangster police and puppet underlings spray me with poison nerve gas and automobile exhausts, and even lawnmowers, deadly assaults, even in my yard with knives, even bricks and stones, even deadly touch tabin or electric shock flashlight, even remote electronically controlled around corners trajection of deadly touch tarantula spiders, or even bloody murder, quote-unquote, accidents to shut me up forever with a, quote-unquote, sneak undetectable extermination, even with trained parroting puppet assassins in maximum security insanity prison for writing these unforgivable, truthful letters. Now, that does sound like a police state, but what he describes is almost entirely false. That would be my guess. This seems to be a protracted version, and a recorded version, I would like to think, of what Artaud went through on a daily basis. This is why he holed himself up in his house. This is why there was practically no explanation for it, because it's all explained here. I don't know if he's afraid of spiders, but, well, you know, Warframe just had Isleweaver, and I guess I played Araxia too much. But I personally love spiders. Anyway, he thinks the government's trying to assassinate him. I think this is pretty standard schizophrenic behavior. So what makes it so interesting? Why do I care? I remember there's more in here. What could it be? Until my undetectable extermination, quote-unquote, I, Francis E. Deck Esquire, 29 Maple Avenue, Hempstead, New York, I stand alone against your mad, deadly, worldwide, conspiratorial, gangster, computer god communism with wall-to-wall, deadly gangster protection, lifelong sworn conspirators, murder incorporated, organized crime, the police and judges, the deadly sneak parroting puppet gangsters, using all the gangster deadly Frankenstein controls, these hangmen ropes sneak deadly gangsters, the judges and the police, trick, trap, rob, wreck, butcher, and murder the people to keep them terrorized in gangster Frankenstein earphone radio slavery for the communist gangster computer god and con artist parroting puppet gangster playboy scum on top, the secret world order of all police in order to maintain a communist closed society, the same world mad deadly gangster communist computer god that controls you as a terrorized gangster Frankenstein earphone radio slave parroting puppet. I mean, is he wrong? I mean, okay, blatant answer, yes, he is wrong. But I feel he has a lot of the general ideas. I'm going to say this is post-Watergate, mainly because this type of anti-government rhetoric didn't become mainstream until things like Waco and Ruby Ridge and Watergate, just the Vietnam War in general, and people started to lose faith in their government. I feel like Francis E. Deck more had a trend of that going on before that, but I want to say that this is one of his older letters. This is the one that people know most about, but in the grand scheme of things, this seems like a generalist letter to send out to people who don't know what you're talking about. It's an advertisement for your quote-unquote belief system, but he actually says a lot of very prolific things. I know it's controversial to say it's a police state, but my grandfather always did. And a lot of people nowadays are, kind of riding that train. But it is definitely, it's not a communist closed society, as he likes to say. But just the whole, with the recent Epstein decision and keep your population terrified just so, the elites can work to keep the societal order the same. Obviously, the status quo that Francis E. Deck thinks that these people are trying to maintain, in his mind, is not real, but he is noticing the trend of, hey, a lot of these people are working together to keep a status quo that I am not amicable to, which I feel is something that a lot of people can resonate with nowadays. He basically just doxes himself and says, hey, I'm gonna stand alone against everyone else who won't do anything. He's effectively the one guy who says, I'm not going to stand for this anymore, and lights himself on fire. Anyway, I see there's more. Let's keep this nice and snappy. You are a terrorized member of the master race. Worldwide 4 billion eyesight television camera guinea pig communist gangster computer god master race. Your living, thinking, mad, deadly, worldwide communist gangster computer god secret overall plan. Worldwide living death Frankenstein slavery to explore and control the entire universe with the endless stairway to the stars, namely the man-made inside-out planets and nucleonic-powered speeds much faster than the speed of light. Look up and see the gangster computer god concocted new fake starry sky, the worldwide completely controlled deadly degenerative climate and atmosphere, through the new world round translucent exotic gaseous envelope which the worldwide communist gangster computer god manipulates through countless exactly positioned satellites, the new fake phony stars in the synthetic quote-unquote sky. Oh boy, that's a lot to unpack. So, I didn't mention it as I was reading, but master race is in quotes. He's more repeating you are a Frankenstein slave, and you should revel in the fact that all of these things are fake. You should revel in the fact that you are achieving your goal by not opposing the system. He brings up an interesting point, something that has kind of been more cemented in the flat earth and conspiracy movement as a whole. More of the sky is fake or space is fake because we live on a flat earth that's surrounded by a dome. But Francis E. Deck takes it a step further, and he doesn't say it's all fake. He says there is a universe, but Frankenstein slaves on the earth made planets that don't move with a force of gravity or any other astronomical force. It's a ship that can move faster than the speed of light, first of all, which is hypothetically impossible. And the computer god has manufactured every single star in the sky, every single planet. It's not that everything is fake, as in it doesn't exist. It's everything is fake in the sense that the computer god has constructed it all. And the stairway to the stars is something that is covered a lot more, I hope, in the archives. and I don't want to linger too much on it because I'll address it when Francis gets to it on his own time. In conclusion, the computer god controls all of space. And keep in mind all that the computer god has done. Implanted every single person. A worldwide population of 4 billion have been implanted with Frankenstein controls. It has effectively artificially constructed a societal structure and has artificially constructed all of space. And Francis C. Deck is the only man who knows all of this to be true and is trying to spread the truth so that you can get the Frankenstein controls out of your head. But if you did that, you die, because there's... I can't remember what it is. It's definitely in the archives close. I can feel it. But let's keep going. It's so close. Well, not close to the end, but close to true understanding. For ages before Frankenstein controls, apoetic, black people, interbreedable with apes, had no alphabets, not even numerals. Slavery conspiracy over 300 years ago. Ideal, tiny brain, apoetic, black, gangster, government, eyesight, TV, gangster, spy cameras, computer god, new world order. Degeneration with gifted, with all, gangster, Frankenstein controls, deadly gangster parroting puppet, black, brain programmed robots, deadly ape Frankenstein machines, degenerative disease to eternal Frankenstein slavery, overall plan through one world communism, top secret code word, meaning worldwide absolutely helpless and hopeless, simple language mongrels. Yeah, Francis? Is that true? You know, every time that I think Francis C. Deck has peaked in his racism, he just surpasses it every single time. It's equally hilarious and sad to watch. So what did he even say? Because this is, honestly, if you're paying attention, one of the most incomprehensible ones. Like, I had to read and reread this paragraph like 6 times to try and figure what's going on. So I'm going to go with his previous writings on the computer god's past, put on my tinfoil hat, well, to cover the antenna, of course, and let's try and see what he's trying to say. First of all, slavery is a conspiracy. The computer god is trying to bring about the New World Order from the Frankenstein radio controls in black people, because each one of them is like a security camera, because they are gifted. Remember, gifted means like higher ranked, they get special privileges. And this quote-unquote disease that these black people have is going to be extended to everyone with Frankenstein controls, because it seems like he thinks that black people are already like immobile hive drones that kind of just wander around and do whatever the computer god tells them to with no external thoughts. This is how the computer god is going to bring about one world communism, which he then reiterates worldwide totalitarian communism is just absolutely helpless and hopeless, simple-minded people who speak a very simple language. You're effectively taking away people's agency, first of all, to resist, and second of all, to just be human in general. He kind of taps into the ideas of 1984, having a language that doesn't really allow revolt. He doesn't say it specifically, but that's kind of what he implies. A simple language that no one would use voluntarily, and that is the will, and then from the computer god mixing together everything, depriving physically and mentally through brain size the ability to resist. It's very enlightening as to, first of all, what's going on in Francis C. Deck's head, and second of all, what he's afraid of. Because earlier on he says, oh, these people are willing to go to all these lengths, they're willing to employ all these police and people and use all these special assassination methods just to get me out of the way to keep the system in place so I can't tell you the truth. And I think he's very unique for that. He pioneered, or if not pioneered, is one of the most well-known cases of, let me search it up real quick, electronic harassment. That's the word I'm looking for. Electronic harassment. He was effectively a pioneer of this. It's just a different way to say gang stalking. That's the simplest way that I can explain it. And it's just kind of sad. I don't think anyone should live like this. I don't think we should have to live under the computer god like this. Let's finish this up. We have a journey ahead of us, and I don't want to waste too much time here.
Worldwide systematic instant plastic surgery, butchery, murder, quote-unquote fake aging, so all people are dead or useless by age 70, done at night to you as a Frankenstein slave, parroting puppet gangster slave. Now, even you know I am a menace to your worldwide mad deadly gangster computer god. Therefore, I must go to extermination before I am exterminated by this gangster computer god concocted and controlled worst mongrel organized crime murder incorporated gangster communist government. I hand you the secrets to save the entire human race and the entire universe. Donate money or even a manual typewriter to me for your only hope for a future.
In this last paragraph, and the end of the letter as a whole, I feel Francis E. Deck kind of loses it. As if he hadn't lost it already, but I'm kind of just by his own standards. I'm judging him by his own standards because by far and away, if we were to judge him by, your average American citizen in the 1980s, he is already, far and away the craziest one in New York City at the time. If you know of crazier people, please comment down below. But he takes a more confrontational approach. He points at you, the reader, and says, you should be happy. Because effectively in this letter, he's proved himself to be a menace. He says it himself. He says he is an enemy of the computer god, and he assumes that you want to exterminate him because of this. And he takes the angle of an angel. The I want to save you. Why are you making this so difficult? It's sad to see. Every time he ends a letter, he says something along the lines of, I have handed you the secrets to save humanity, now do it. And it's upsetting. It must be upsetting for him. That's why he gets so confrontational at the end. I mean, if I knew the fate of all my writings was to have them coagulated by the entity that I despise and put in a giant archive, and everyone forgot about me, I would be upset too. It seems like he already knows that's going to happen. He even begs for donations. Donate money or a manual typewriter. I mean, hey, if you want to donate me a money, manual typewriter, YouTube subscription, a comment, a like. Sure, I'm the next Francis E. Deck. That's what I'm going to start saying. I'm going to say, please donate a like or even a subscription to me for your only hope for a future. Who knows, I might throw that sound clip at the end of things. But it's sad. Remember, he's locked up in his house because he thinks he's not allowed to get a job because the government has a coordinated conspiracy against him. He thinks that everything is fake. Everything is constructed to be specifically malignant to him, and that he thinks that he is being supplanted by people that he hates. He's just recoding the Great Replacement theory and making it his own effectively. And then he points at you, the viewer, and shouts at you for not listening. I feel like he's at his typewriter, just being really upset. It's frustrating. I hope that I don't end up like that, because I know people listen to me, but I don't have any kind of conspiracy to peddle. I don't have an agenda to push. I just want to walk through the archives of crazy people, and we can all look and laugh. But sometimes we need to understand that, they're all people at the end of the day. The extent of human belief is fascinating, because things can hold on. Flat Earth held on. Vaccines cause autism held on. Even to some degree, memes like, Dinosaur Earth. I don't know, Dinosaur Earth is still relevant. But like all of these held on because people believe them to some degree. My journey is to find what the axis of believable to unbelievable is. Where is the highest someone will go without it just being point and laugh territory? What is the highest on the insanity scale that you can go, just cresting the event horizon of believability? I want to know what that is, and I want to find it. If you have any ideas as to who that could be, or just any idea in general, it doesn't have to be a person, it could just be an idea, leave it for me. Otherwise, I'm going to flick back on the music, and let's keep walking through the archives. There's nothing else to see here.